Hi, vacation rental owner or manager. Let's talk honestly about what it costs to decorate an STR. Hi, vacation rental owner. Welcome to Step Up Your STR, the show all about specialized decorating so that you can make max revenue from your STR business. I'm Cara, and I've designed over 40 STRs, all of which charge in the top 10% of their area competitors and make up to 153% more after working with me. So I hear a lot of numbers thrown around in our industry when it comes to price for putting furniture into a property. And the great majority of them are either incomplete or wildly unrealistic. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through real start to finish costs for all the furniture you put into a short-term rental. I'll share numbers that I actually see in my work. I'll explain the two furnishing tiers that I use with clients called the revenue optimized tier and revenue elevated tier. So the goal that we have in general is not to decorate for a moment. Rather, it's to design spaces that have longevity, they perform well, and support revenue over time, over hundreds of stays. Now, there is a free printable that goes along with this episode. You can find the link to that in the description. It has a lot of good info. Now, if you own more than one STR, you've probably noticed a shift as you've gone along. The first property feels exciting. You're picking things out for it, imagining guests there, and thinking about how it will photograph. But by the time you're onto the second or third property, the question changes. It's no longer, what do I like? It becomes, what actually makes sense to buy? Is there anything I can simply buy again? How can I make this into a system that I can repeat? Because once you're managing multiple units, decorating stops being a fun, creative hobby and it becomes an operational decision instead. That's what I want to talk about today. Not just what it costs to decorate an STR, but also how to think about those costs so they don't quietly eat into your margin. So I am asked all the time, Cara, how much does it cost to decorate an STR? And I completely understand why people ask that. Decorating is a line item expense. It's a big expense, and most owners want a clean number that they can plan around. But here's the issue. There isn't one correct number. Two living rooms can look almost identical in listing photos. They can have a very similar style, same vibe, and maybe the owners are trying to charge the same price point online, but one of them will last years longer, look good for longer, be easier to maintain, be cheaper to replace, and cause fewer headaches overall. And the difference usually isn't aesthetic. Sometimes it is, but often it's more about knowing what to choose. It's about the quality level and intention that goes into those choices. So let's look closer at when you own multiple STRs, because the real risk isn't that there's overspending once. It's making inconsistent decisions, and a lot of them across multiple properties that you manage or own. It's letting emotion guide purchases and repeating small mistakes, like I said, across multiple units, and you don't have consistency in your plan. A $1,500 mistake once is annoying, but a $1,500 mistake repeated 10 times, that is expensive. So I think in tiers that support revenue, tiers of furniture, levels of quality, and how easy it is as well to replace something when it breaks, because everything will eventually break. I think that's something that owners don't look at enough, but everything will break eventually. When I'm advising owners with multiple properties, like I said at the beginning, I do use two realistic tiers of quality. And then I very intentionally rule out two others. So the two tiers that I do not use in STR decorating, number one is the really cheap, low quality furniture that you can find in a lot of places because it does not last. it isn't comfortable, and it isn't nice to use. This type of furniture costs you more in the long run. So to illustrate, if you get a $500 cheap sofa and it breaks after a year, and you have to replace it next year again, and a year after that, in 5 years, that will have cost you $2,500 plus all the time and effort and stress of removing that old one and trying to get a new one in. In contrast, if you get a nice quality sofa, maybe for $1,500, you'll have it last at least 5 years without having to replace it at all. And that's definitely a way better scenario. So, furniture I don't recommend is very cheaply made. The second type of furniture I don't use or recommend for STRs is true luxury furnishings. Here I'm talking the fully custom, one-of-a-kind pieces. They are very expensive, more than they need to cost, to be honest, for the quality that you get. And they take a really long time to be made and delivered to you. So luxury furniture is not practical for STRs. The two tiers that I do recommend, however, are revenue optimized and revenue elevated. So just briefly, the revenue optimized tier is furniture that is good quality and it will last you for years, and it does not cost more than it's worth. It's relatively basic, often timeless in style. And this is where I think most STRs should be. It looks good, it serves you and guests really well, and it's easy to replace when needed. Okay, so that is revenue optimized. The revenue elevated tier is higher quality furniture that still makes sense for STRs. You do have a more luxurious, elevated experience when using these furnishings. They're very durable, and on average, they cost 50 to 60% more than the tier one revenue optimized. But this revenue elevated furniture is worth it for clients who want an elevated experience, a little bit more luxury experience for everyone who uses their property. So I'm going to walk you a little bit more through each of these, and I'll share their pricing. Okay, the revenue optimized furniture. This is what I consider baseline done right. This tier is not about cutting corners. I would never do that for my clients, but it is about being intentional and careful with funds. This furniture looks great in photos. It feels solid and comfortable to use in person. It can handle real guest use. And this matters. Like I said, it can be replaced quickly when something breaks, and something will break. In a short-term rental, you're not designing for one family. You're designing for hundreds of stays, suitcases, kids, spills, and sometimes pets. So this tier prioritizes durability for use and durability for style. These are classic options that won't go out of style anytime soon. They can be repurchased without stress. You can find them typically at your local furniture stores, Wayfair, Facebook Marketplace, Article, and sometimes Amazon. That is revenue optimized. And so for this good quality tier, here's what I see consistently as far as cost. A living room furnished start to finish costs about $5,000. That's the price of this furniture. Now keep in mind, I'm recording this at the beginning of 2026. Unfortunately, furniture prices have gone up significantly in the last 5 to 7 years. And right now it's at about $5,000 for all new living room furniture. A bedroom in the revenue optimized tier, fully furnished, runs about $4,000. Now, when I say start to finish, I mean all the major furniture, rugs, lighting, art and decor, and the accessory pieces needed to make the room feel really polished and complete. This is not bargain basement pricing, but again, you don't want and really cannot afford the cheap, low quality junk that's going to break soon and not have a good guest experience. All right, but this revenue optimized tier is a level where most STRs perform very well, visually, functionally, and financially. It works beautifully, like I said, for the majority of STRs. Many properties in this level actually feel luxury to guests This furniture can feel luxury and look luxury if you know how to work it. And this furniture also works great for owners who want consistency and repeatability across multiple properties. Now, here's something important many owners don't realize. Most guests cannot tell the difference between this tier and higher end furniture in listing photos. It can look the same. Okay, let's talk next about tier 2, the higher quality, revenue elevated tier. This is for owners who want a little more weight to their furnishings, more refinement, and a slightly elevated feel, but they still need the furniture to function in a rental environment. So, cost-wise, the revenue elevated tier is typically around $8,500 for a living room and about $7,000 for a bedroom. You can buy this furniture at places like West Elm, Pottery Barn, Crate and Barrel, CB2. I am familiar with furniture pieces at these retailers that do have a noticeable difference in how they feel to use. So in this revenue elevated tier, you get higher quality upholstery, higher quality finishes, often more substantial furniture, and sometimes better comfort. It can make sense when you want your space to be satisfactory for luxury clientele and charge a higher nightly rate, and that is a good place to be. Revenue elevated is good if the property is a flagship listing. It also makes sense then. It's good if you want to elevate one or two key spaces, such as the living room or primary bedroom. Also, it's good if you use the rental yourself and you just want this elevated feel, then this tier, the revenue elevated tier, is a great choice. The keyword I use with revenue elevated is selective. It's about being intentional where the upgrade will actually matter and make sense. When I'm working with owners who have multiple STRs or want to grow, here's the mindset I encourage. Have at least that revenue optimized baseline. In other words, at least choose items that would fit into the more basic, but still high quality and comfortable level of quality, that tier. Upgrade selectively where it'll really make a good difference. Avoid furniture and accessories that you cannot replace quickly. Design for longevity. You're not looking for perfection, but longevity as far as durability and style. Don't go too trendy. Also, think in systems, not shopping trips. This is where having a designer or a design plan, like an e-design, will build the system for you. By the way, I do e-designs all the time, and I can leave a link for that service in the description. It's a really easy plan that you get. You can even hand it off to a team to install it for you, to do everything for you, and you'll get results as if I were there doing it for you. I hope this episode gives you clearer expectations about furniture prices and what to look for, because the goal isn't just to spend a tiny bit on furniture, make it as cheap as you can. Definitely don't do that. You do want a beautiful space, but you also want a space that pays you back. Reminder that there is a free printable that goes along with this episode. You can find the link to it in the description box. It has a really nice table that spells out how much each item costs for each tier and guidelines on what to look for and what to avoid. Thanks for being here. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, because I really try to make these episodes practical for STR owners and managers. I look forward to talking again next time.